So last Tuesday, police entered into Columbia University to break up the student encampment that was there by the pro-Palestinian students, and this is actually pretty reminiscent of what happened 56 years ago during the Vietnam War, where protesters very much were met by police for protesting the war after they invaded Hamilton Hall, similar to what the pro-Palestinian students have done, which is what they are saying this is in retaliation against. So here we have this article from Huffington Post. We're going to go into it, and we have a bunch of other examples of what happened, the reasoning the police are giving for why this actually happened. But we're going to start with this post right here. A large group of New York police officers cleared Columbia University's week-long pro-Palestine protest encampment, including a building that was occupied by protesters late Tuesday night. On the same day, 56 years earlier, the front page of Columbia's student newspaper featured similar scenes of officers storming into crowds of students protesting the Vietnam War and proposed segregation policies. So here we have from Philip Lewis, Columbia Spectator. This was, literally 56 years ago. This is when this happened. University calls in 1,000 police to end demonstration as nearly 700 are arrested and 100 injured. Violent solution follows a failure of negotiations. The resurfaced front page of the Columbia Spectator was posted on X, formerly Twitter, by Omar Jimenez, stated that on April 30th, 1968, Columbia University called 1,000 police officers to end the demonstration at multiple buildings, including Hamilton Hall. The situation ended in nearly 700 arrests and 100 injuries. Front page photo shows police officers surrounding a professor outside a building on the campus. The caption states that the law enforcement stopped and kicked protesters. On Tuesday, New York Police Department officers on Columbia's campus detained 100 people and cleared about 30 people from Hamilton Hall. Demonstrators had set up encampments on campus and occupied the academic building to protest Israel's actions on Gaza, which had killed more than 300,000 people since the militia group Hamas killed hundreds of civilians in October. The protesters demanded that the university divest from businesses that are profiting off Israel's attack on Gaza, and that the college increase transparency on their ties to Israel, a demand similar to that of yet another past set of protests on campus when students in 1985 called for divestments from companies doing business with South Africa during their apartheid. The university responded to Tuesday's protest with the announcement that the NYPD will remain on campus until May 17th after the college's graduation ceremony is set to take place. Now here are images from the 1968 protests. Yeah, literally they're just like stomping on them. In an attempt to form a human barricade, students and sympathizers sit along the perimeter of the campus. Here we have like a human barricade. So yeah, this happened not that long afterwards, and again, this police response was after the Palestinian protesters. The pro-Palestinian protesters, they occupied Hamilton Hall. So, history has a weird way of repeating itself. But that's not the only reason that they're giving for why this was going on. Okay, so this is from the Wall Street Journal. Hundreds of protesters arrested as universities blame outsiders for escalating violence. Hundreds of protesters were arrested across several campuses at universities, and police cracked down on what they say are outsiders escalating pro-Palestinian demonstrations. And we'll see at least what the NYPD believes is the case. But we'll just cover this article real quick. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office said that 280 people were arrested at Columbia University and City College of New York. Later in the day, Fordham University called on the NYPD to clear an encampment of some 30 people in a building on its Lincoln Center campus. The NYPD said it arrested those who refused to disperse. The University of Wisconsin-Madison called police, dispersed an encampment, and arrested 34 people. Tulane University in New Orleans said 14 protesters were arrested Wednesday in addition to the 6 arrested a day earlier. Universities and police have said people unaffiliated with the schools had joined and intensified the demonstrations protesting the Israel-Hamas war. Like, people do sometimes join these just because, like, they're not a part of the school doesn't mean they can't join the protests in some way. But, like, I think they're trying to say, like, that these people are Hamas or something. New York University's president said of 130 people arrested there on April 22nd, 68 weren't current students, faculty, or staff. Tulane said the overwhelming majority of the protests were outsiders. New York City Mayor Adams said outside agitators were co-opting the protest movement at Columbia. The University of Texas at Austin said 45 of the 79 people arrested on campus on Monday weren't associated with the school. These numbers validate our concern that much of the disruption on campus. Do you actually have proof? Like, do you have like the identities of the people and whether or not, or because there were protesters who were expelled or suspended, or I think at least was suspended. So like, are they counting those people in it? Like just them saying, "Oh, this is the numbers," it doesn't actually prove anything. Representatives for protesters at Columbia and City College of New York said Wednesday that non-students who joined demonstrations at their school were actually members of the community, including teachers and alumni. So yeah, there we have it again. Like, it's easy just to say, oh, these aren't connected to the school, but at least there's some proof of like who these people are, and they're people who used to be affiliated at the very least, or people who currently work there. At the University of California, Los Angeles, dozens of counter-protesters gathered at a pro-Palestinian encampment's perimeter around 11 p.m. Tuesday night, and tensions escalated quickly, according to video from local TV news and witnesses. Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about that, just that whole situation, which is really fucked. The counter-protesters dismantled metal barricades around the encampment, in some cases throwing them at pro-Palestinian demonstrators. Some of the encampment members attempted to pull barricades back and reconstruct a barrier. At one point, someone outside the encampment threw what appeared to be a firework, which exploded on the... Yeah, they did. They very much did, and people very much got injured. Video from the scene showed a small number of security officers present around 11:15 p.m. who were outnumbered and left shortly after. Cowards. Also, the police did absolutely nothing in that regard. But yeah, we'll get back to what happened with UCLA. So basically what they're trying to spin the story is, the way that they're trying to spin this story is by saying that the protests are being taken over by outside agitators. And, you know, when you make a claim like that, you would want to have some proof. Well, apparently, at least from Deputy Commissioner Tyreek Shepard, he has proof that this is not just, you know, that these are actually these are actually outside agitators who are doing this. And what's his proof? Well, we'll see right here.
Right.
Tell us about this change.
Yeah, so when we entered Hamilton Hall, this is not what students bring to school. Okay, this is what professionals bring to campuses and universities. These are heavy industrial chains that were locked with bike locks, and this is what we encountered on every door inside of Hamilton Hall. And so in order for our emergency services group to enter into the building, they had to first cut through these chains, but also get rid of debris and barricaded doors that were barricaded with refrigerators, vending machines, chairs, you name it. They pushed it up against those doors to try and stop us from coming in. But our guys would not be stopped. They did a fantastic job of entering into that location.
So what's his proof? These bike locks. Now these bike locks, you know, they're really big, you know, industrial type of bike locks. But here we have community notes helping out, but we do have some additional information too from Matt Bender, who actually had some information about this. The NYPD, aided by cable news media, is trying to push the outside agitator narrative at Columbia. The evidence, a common bike lock and chain. This is not what students bring to school. This is what professionals bring to campuses and universities. Despite the fact, and we have it right here, this is the chain they're talking about. This one right here. I believe it's called the kryptonite chain. However, misleading, the post suggests that students wouldn't typically bring in the chain. However, it's actually a kryptonite bike lock sold at a discount by Columbia University. And here it is. This is the exact one. It has the same sort of color, the same sort of bike lock right here. The only difference is that it doesn't have the sleeve right here, which I feel like maybe they took off to kind of hide that, or someone like the police took it off. But I think it's more like whoever had it just took it off. But like, yeah, this is They have it on their website. This is something that their students can buy. It's what their students can buy. So trying to use that as a reason of being like this is outside agitators by using something that a Columbia University student can buy is completely dumb. We have the NYPD here entering the campus, just a parade of pigs right there. Apparently, an officer fired a gun. From what's been said, I don't believe anyone got shot, but still, I don't. The fact that they brought in guns for student protesters, I think is just stupid when no one in that encampment was armed. But we're probably gonna move on to the UCLA, and here we have what is going on with UCLA. Counter-protesters forcibly attacked a pro-Palestine encampment at UCLA early Wednesday. So, like, not literally a day after what happened at Columbia, this happens. And then the day after this, the police went to the university to break up the encampment. In response to this, despite the fact that the protesters, the pro-Palestinian protesters, were not the ones who caused this. And there is a video of the UCLA vice counselor, I believe it is.
Have a mic? Yeah. An outcome. So
we are trying to leverage is the money that
yeah, they had the vice chancellor of UCLA was talking to the student encampment, and God, it was terrible. Like, he looked like a goddamn Claude. He looked like an idiot, like, the entire time. Just never really answered, like, directly answering them on certain things. Just, and basically what he kind of got, basically what kind of came out of it, at the very least, is that this was, like, right before the police got there, on Thursday. And what they were talking about was that, the pro-Palestinian protesters were essentially yelling at him for the good part, being like, you guys weren't protecting us with these, counter-protesters who were attacking us, trying to rip apart our encampment. Like, the police didn't help us, you guys didn't help us. And we've seen that with that one article, like, the security guards left. They just left. They knew that the NYPD was coming. And basically what the vice chancellor was saying was like, oh, like, we're doing this, like, in response to what happened so it doesn't happen again. And it's like, but if you don't want that to happen again, why are you going after us? Why not go after the counter-protesters who started this? So, going back to the article, counter-protesters forcibly attacked a pro-Palestinian encampment at UCLA early Wednesday, the university's chancellor said. An activist clashed with police officers who destroyed their tents at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, part of a series of escalating violence on some college campuses over the war in Gaza. UCLA administrators and police campus delaying, interfering, and calling for law enforcement backup in the brawl on Los Angeles campus prompted widespread condemnation for Muslim students, the city's mayor and California Governor Gavin Newsom. The counter-protesters, some of whom carried Israeli flags, threw traffic cones and chairs, released pepper spray, and pulled down the barricades surrounding the encampment. University officials said 15 people were injured in the confrontation, including one person who was hospitalized. The chaotic scenes unfolded Wednesday after police burst into a building occupied by anti-war protesters at Columbia University on Tuesday night, breaking up a demonstration that had paralyzed the school. Chancellor Gene Block at UCLA said in a statement that a group of instigators came on campus Tuesday night to forcibly attack the pro-Palestine encampment. So what are we going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Oh, well, we're going to arrest the pro-Palestinian protesters. That's what we're going to do. After a couple hours of scuffles, police wearing helmets and face shields separated the groups. Later Wednesday, pro-Palestinian protesters rebuilt a barricade around their encampment. There were no counter-protesters in sight, and law enforcement officers were deployed throughout the campus. In Madison on Wednesday, a scrum broke out after police with shields removed all but one tent and shoved protesters. 4 officers were injured, including a state trooper who was hit in the head with a skateboard. More tents sprang up within hours. More than 30 people were initially detained, but police said only 4 were charged with battering law enforcement. Tent encampments of protesters called on universities to stop doing business with Israel, where companies that support the war in Gaza have has spread across campuses nationwide in a student movement unlike any other this century. The ensuing police crackdowns echoed actions decades ago against a much larger protest movement protesting the Vietnam War. This is all playing out in an election year in the U.S., raising questions about whether young voters, who are crucial for Democrats, will back President Joe Biden's re-election effort, given his staunch support of Israel. And we might as well cover his response to all this. Now, this comes at May 2nd. Yeah, so this was right around time, I believe this was in the morning before the UCLA encampment was dismantled by police. This was 2 days after the police entered Columbia University.
Before I head to North Carolina, I wanted to speak for a few moments about what's going on our college campuses here. We've all seen the images, and they put to the test two fundamental American principles. Excuse me. The first is the right to free speech and for people to peacefully assemble and make their voices heard. The second is the rule of law. Both must be upheld. We are not an authoritarian nation where we silence people or squash dissent. The American people are heard. In fact, peaceful protest is in the best tradition of how Americans respond to consequential issues. But neither
sure about that, bud?
We a lawless country.
I mean, the whole founding of our nation, do you think that was a peaceful protest? No. Sometimes when you try to, start a revolution or get your name heard, just being peaceful about it isn't going to get you anywhere. When you try to change the system by working in the system, you're not really going to change anything. What they did was just enter a campus hall. Yeah, they broke some windows, but who gives a shit? They're just windows. They weren't hurting anyone. It's just some property that could easily be fixed. And with the UCLA protesters, what did they do? They got attacked. That's it. In all fairness, this came early Thursday, but I wonder what his response is to what happened at UCLA.
We are a civil society, and order must prevail. Throughout our history, we've often faced moments like this because we are a big, diverse, free-thinking, and freedom-loving nation.
Unless it's against Israel. And by the way, there's actually a bill that got passed in the House, I'm pretty sure. Anti-Semitism Awareness Act approved by U.S. State. The U.S. House of Representatives passed the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act with significant bipartisan support, aiming to expand the federal definition of anti-Semitism. The new definition now includes acts targeting the state of Israel as a Jewish collective. So yeah, they're basically trying to make it illegal of being critical of Israel. That's what they're going to try to do. But yeah, this is a nation of free speech. By the way, just remember that. The nation of free speech where you can't say anything bad about Israel.
Moments like this, there are always those who rush in to score political points.
Though I believe it can't be passed until it goes to the Senate, right? Yeah, it needs to be passed by the Senate and then passed by Biden. We'll see how that goes. Man, who fucking knows?
But this isn't a moment for politics. It's a moment for clarity. So let me be clear. Peaceful protest in America. Violent protest is not protected. Peaceful protest is. It's against the law when violence occurs. Destroying property is not a peaceful protest. It's against the law. Vandalism, trespassing, breaking windows, shutting down campuses, forcing the cancellation of classes and graduations. None of this is a peaceful.
They didn't force that to happen. The school did that. Just because there's protests going on doesn't mean that they had to stop graduation and classes. That's what they decided to do. That's what the school itself decided to do. They didn't force them to do that. They could have easily done it. It's not like the encampments weren't blocking buildings. They weren't blocking entrances to buildings. They were on, property that someone could just walk around on. This will come back when we talk about the Yasmin Gold Hassan debate on the subject. But saying that this is blocking people's way to get to classes, first of all, college buildings have multiple entrances. So unless they're completely surrounding a building, they're not really blocking any entranceway. And secondly, that's just not what's happening. But third, it's not like that was their demand of the college to be like, no, you had to shut down classes. It's not. The college just did it.
Peaceful protest, threatening people, intimidating people, instilling fear in people is not peaceful protest. It's against the law. Dissent is essential to democracy, but dissent must never lead to disorder or to denying the rights of others so students can finish the semester and their college education. Look, it's basically a matter of fairness. It's a matter of what's right. There's the right to protest, but not the right to cause chaos. People have the right to get an education, the right to get a degree, the right to walk across the campus safely without fear of being attacked.
So are you going to talk about the counter-protesters then, or are you going to talk about the violence that's been going on there, and how these people are being targeted by people like that, or are you just not going to do anything?
Let's be clear about this as well. There should be no place on any campus, no place in America for anti-Semitism or threats of violence against Jewish students. There is no place for hate speech or violence of any kind, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, or discrimination against Arab Americans or Palestinian Americans. It's simply wrong. There's no place for racism in America.
God, like, this is so dumb when we talk about that Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. A lot of these protests are being, a lot of these encampments are being, a lot of these protesters, these pro-Palestinian protesters, are Jewish. They're non-Zionist Jews. That's who they are. Like, groups like Jewish Voice for Peace are like key figures when it comes to these things. So saying that this is an act of anti-Semitism, these encampments, these protests, are just dead wrong. It is pretty anti-Semitic itself to say when Jewish people make up a big number of these protesters. And there are people who are trying to say, like, oh, like, these protesters are trying to use these Jewish protesters as like a token. That's not the case. They're big figureheads of these protests.
It's all wrong. It's un-American. I understand people have strong feelings and deep convictions. In America, we respect the right and protect the right for them to express that. But it doesn't mean anything goes. It needs to be done without violence, without destruction, without hate, and within the law. You know, make no mistake, as president, I will always defend free speech, and I will always be just as strong in standing up for the rule of law. That's my responsibility to you, the American people, and my obligation to the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
just so dumb. Like, having this, I feel like his response to all this is really going to hurt him with the election. Like, before all this took place, I was just kind of like I would still vote for him, even though I really hate what he's doing, because I believe he is, better than Trump. But honestly, at this point, what's the difference between him and Trump when it's come to his response to police violence in response to these protests? Not that much different. I mean, Trump called for the National Guard, and Biden doesn't seem to be doing that. But, like, it's just disgusting, his response to that. Again, young voters are very critical, like, very crucial for the Democrats. Like, it's a good voter base for them. Biden has been doing everything in his power, not just now, but almost in the last few years or so, of not really getting those that demographic to be on his side. It feels like he's very much, and not just him, but Democrats in general, have just kind of been against young people. It's just gross, their response to all this. We also have some videos of the counter protesters and what they did at UCLA. Yeah, that old lady bravely tried to keep the barricade from, keep them from taking the barricade. And they shouted, "You have no chance, old lady, you have no chance." Being aggressive just to this old woman who's just trying to defend a group of kids, a group of students. They called him a pussy NBC.
No place in this world. Fuck you.
And then they attack him from behind and then gang up on him. But yeah, he's the pussy, not these fucking jackasses.
Hey, stop!
Yeah, and that's where the firework. That guy throws a firework right here. This guy. And nothing really happened to that, apparently.
Oh, great. Here comes the cloud.
Just fucking terrible fucking people. It's complete monsters. But I guess nothing's gonna happen to them, right? But no, the pro-Palestinian protesters are the problem because one group of them broke into a building, broke some glass. Oh yeah, this dipshit tried to make an argument.
Taking a look around the encampment after police have gone through here and forced the pro-Palestinian demonstrators out. CHP tells me 100 people were taken into custody during this operation. It took about 3 hours.
Yeah. This dipshit, well, not the person who was talking over the video. This dipshit right here, I thought these students were environmentalists. Yeah, they were arrested from the fucking police. They were arrested by the police. They didn't have time to gather up their shit. But yeah, just more fucking violence that these people did. Really hit him. Look at the pussy ass kick right here. Look. God. Also, this is the type of shit that the police officers were doing to some of the protesters at Columbia University. So, you see these people laying down on the ground, the officers are dragging them, even push these people who were just moving. Then there was this guy in the corner. He gets flung down the stairs. Yeah, this is how they treated these people. Just complete fucking monsters. And yeah, with all this, the response by President Biden, the response from the House passing this anti-Semitism awareness bill, it's not looking to get any better. There was also that whole thing that happened at Ole Miss, I believe, is what the university is called. And this has been going viral. So here we have this.
Fuck you! And fuck you, bitch!
This black pro-Palestine protester. Went up to this big crowd. This guy in American overalls was trying to act tough beforehand, but it wasn't shown. In the clip there was this cut. Yeah, here he is. And the thing that really went viral was this guy right here. Dancing around like a monkey, making monkey noises. Now he has been going viral just because of how obviously racist that was. And he's been, trending on Twitter. People have been talking about him. They didn't dox it. They found out who he was. They didn't dox him, but they found out his name. And I believe he privated his Twitter. Probably because people found out and he was just oh no. But yeah, this whole situation is just completely fucking disgusting. The response from the police, how they are not doing anything against the counter protesters and just using it as an excuse to go after the student encampments, at least with the UCLA. But yeah, it doesn't look to get any better, but the fact that these protests are rising hopefully sends a message. I don't know. Joe Biden has completely fucked himself. Like, that's the thing. Like, I was gonna vote for him. I'm not. I don't think you should, because honestly, at this point, like, if Trump does get in, yes, it's gonna be worse, but it's gonna be the same thing that Biden. Like, if Biden gets reelected, he's just gonna do the same stuff that Trump would have done in this case. Just not as bad, but still, it will be the same thing. He just doesn't care about these people, these pro-Palestinian protesters at all. It's just disgusting how he's handling it, how the Democrats are handling it as well. So yeah, that's all I really want to cover with this. It's just completely disgusting.